Today we have a very, very special and beautiful person in our midst today that will be talking to us about a story that I believe very strongly is going to bless you and is going to bless everyone around you. I would want to ask that after watching this clip or a few of the clips, please share to someone that you think would really need it, like and make comments. Let's get this story and this message global. The person that is here with me is someone that is special to me. She is so special. She is, I call her Mama. She's someone that knows how to just put a smile on people's face. She's someone that also has a smile always on her face. The Bible says that love your neighbor as yourself, which means you've had to first love yourself before you love your neighbor. And also the Bible says charity begins at home. So for you to be able to give so much love like you do always, it means you have love in you and within you. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce the one, the beautiful Mama Beth.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm well.
I've always had this question that I want to ask you. How come you are always happy?
Well, I think that you have to go through hard times first to earn that smile on your face.
Wow.
I do. But I believe it's also a God gift.
Yeah.
My heart overflows for people. I love people.
Well,
And all people in the world. Doesn't matter.
It's very obvious you really love people. I'm gonna just say something about Mama Beth in church. A lot of times, when I'm done singing or at the end of the service, she comes to me and just says a word of encouragement. Well done today. You did very well on stage. Good job. God bless you. You're making people dance and excited. Or sometimes she comes and she says, and she gives you a hug, mama's hug. And sometimes I wish I can be selfish to just have her as mama alone to myself, but unfortunately she's mama to so many other people in church. Not minding, obviously you can see the color, right? Not minding where they're from. But she has this love for people, love that goes beyond race, where you're from, and who you are. As long as you're human, she loves you. Mama, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
I'm the eldest daughter of 4 kids, and my parents worked in Aboriginal communities. I was born in an Aboriginal community, Leonora, outside of Kalgoorlie somewhere. Then a month old, I went to live in Tasmania until I was about 8, going on 9.
Wow.
And then came back here to Western Australia and grew up on Roland's Aboriginal community. Wow. Near Collie till I got married, I suppose. Left home.
I sometimes want to imagine what it looks like back in the days. I mean, obviously I'm not your age, but I sometimes want to imagine what it looks like back in the days. When I was growing up, I remember we used to have, at least I saw the black and white TV.
Yes, black and white TV.
The box TV that stayed in one side of the house and can't be moved. And I remember those days. There was a time when me and my parents were trying to make it colored, and there was this plastic bag that looks a bit yellowish.
Wow.
It's not like plastic bag, but it's like plastic, but it's like a screen that they used to sell back in the days, and you put it on the black and white.
Oh wow! And it made a color.
Yeah, and it gives it a bit of a yellow color.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I know I saw a bit of that, but tell us a bit of how life was in the society, in the community back in your days.
Well, my parents wouldn't let us have TV.
Oh.
And no, it was evil. My parents were very strict Baptist, and we didn't have TV until we were in our late teens.
Wow.
So we had to, if we said we were bored, got told, no, you know what to do, go and play, make your own fun.
Wow.
So that's what we did.
And I think that's the difference with the way kids were then and kids are now. I remember those days I used to just come back from school and drop my bag and just go play and play
Yes.
and play in the field and go and then come back dirty and tired and
And that's what I reckon childhood should be like.
wow. Can you tell us a bit about what happened to your son?
Well, my son had a lot of mental health problems. He was born ADHD with hyperactivity and never slept. He was active. He couldn't sit and watch TV. At 2, he was riding a bike.
Wow.
And I just did things that kept his mind active. Very good at making Lego. He would make this whole helicopter, but he also had a talent for music.
Whoa.
He was a brilliant drummer. We gave him lessons and stuff like that, and his passion was music, and that kept him going for a while. When he was a teenager, had a lot of trouble with him in high school, like 13 to 16. I had to go every day to give him his medication. Otherwise, he would just not learn anything. But he didn't retain a lot of what he was taught in school. He was more a hands-on person. One year, he asked some students big students in this high school if he could have some grass.
Wow.
And you know what grass is. But this guy actually literally ripped some grass out of the ground and gave it to him. He was a very forward-thinking young man, highly intelligent, and with the ADHD, he had trouble controlling that. And he had he'd go off his face sometimes, and I would just send him on his push bike, go for a ride, and we'll talk when you come back.
Wow.
Because you can't talk to them when they're in this state.
Yeah.
You have to just let them calm down. And I never yelled and screamed at him. It didn't work. I had to have a lot of patience. But I ground him this Christmas holidays. I said, you're not having anybody to come around. And I says, you're just going to have to look after yourself, do things.
Yeah.
Well, he built the best cubby house in this tree in the side of our yard. And as he got...
And he did that by himself?
He did that. He was 13. He built this fantastic tree house.
Whoa.
And when he'd have bad moments, I'd say, go on your bike, have a ride, and then I'll meet you up in the tree house and we'll talk. And we'd talk and play cards and stuff like that, just to calm them down.
Yeah.
And because when he was growing up, there was nowhere to go for help with him. And I had done children's nursing, so I had learnt a little bit about colours and flavours and stuff like that for food. But he was a unique, special little boy. Even then, you could tell he was going to go places.
I mean, for him to have started riding a bike at 2 years old and built a tree house by himself at the age of 13.
Yes.
A tree house that would hold 2 people in it.
Yes.
I don't think while you were saying that, I was just thinking in my head, if I want to build a tree house, where do I even start from? Like, how do I even go about that? You know, so...
Well, it was bring out your rubbish day, so there's a lot of wood and rubbish on the side of the road, so he'd get the wheelbarrow and walk down the road and pick up and say, yeah, I could do this, this and this with it, and it was gorgeous. And he'd dress in like army cam gear so you couldn't see him when he was up the tree
Oh
and
my
stuff like
goodness,
that.
camouflage.
Yes, yes. But when he was in high school and was struggling with high school, there was this one music teacher that he got on really, really well, and she took him under her wing, and he played in the school band, high school band, and
Yeah.
brilliant drummer he was.
Wow.
Loved listening to him. Fantastic. And then he was about, 16 going on 17, and he always had behaviour problems and stuff like that, but this time his behaviour just started getting really, really bad to where he was speaking to me like a bit of dirt and stuff like that. And I thought, you don't think at the time that something's wrong or anything. You just say, okay, what's going on? What are we going to do? And he started working and doing work experience in a panel beating shop.
Yeah.
And he loved it because it was hands-on. And that from that time, his behaviour really, really changed to where I had to take him out of high school, and he worked full-time for this panel beater.
So was it changed for the good? You said his behavior really changed when he started.
No, his behaviour didn't change for the good.
The good. Oh, okay.
It was very bad behaviour. He started taking drugs and alcohol, and I didn't know why he was doing these things. And being a mum, and I was a single mum at the time, bringing up two teenagers, but he was always a 24/7 job, literally a job, and trying to be a mum and a carer and stuff like that. It's very hard, but I believe in never giving up on them. Mm-hmm. Always give a go. Doesn't matter whether you're going to make a mistake or not. Never give up on doing what you can for your children.
No matter how bad things
No matter how bad your child is. Doesn't matter. You're their parent for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
You have to do what you can for them. So at 16 going on 17, his behaviour was uncontrollable. I couldn't control him anymore. I had no control over him. I had nothing more of me that I could give this young man. So his father and I had broken up when he was about 12 because I needed to get help for Darren and couldn't get, his dad wouldn't let me get help for him. And I believe in not giving things up easily. I believe in keep going,
keep trying.
Keep trying, and if it doesn't work, find something else. But never give up. I can't do that on him. I couldn't do that. And so he went and lived with his dad until he was about 18, I think, or 19. And then he basically was on his own, did his own thing, his own life. I kept going to see him and visiting him and stuff like that, and we always did stuff. He lived with his boss from the panel beating shop, and I used to go and visit him there, and we'd have lunch and go out for dinner and stuff like that. And then I noticed little things when I'd go and visit him where his boss used to live, and he was very pretending to be somebody he wasn't, because I knew all the Darrens. Darren had so many different things. So the alcohol and the drugs, just marijuana, but the drugs and alcohol together, if you mix marijuana and alcohol, it gives you one hell of a big high, and then within an hour or so, you're going to the lowest you've ever been. And then,
so lowest with regards maybe feeling depressed or feeling...
depressed, suicidal, want to take your own life. And from the age of 18 till he was 38, he was in and out mental health, had mental health problems. But unbeknown to me, I didn't know a lot of the reason why of his mental health. I thought it was to do with his ADHD, with hyperactivity.
Yeah.
And the drug, he wasn't taking any medication at that stage.
Yeah.
But I noticed he was drinking a lot. And during the week, I would visit him and he would be off his face. Just didn't know who this person was. He was not my son, he was somebody else. And I said to him, you know, are you okay? Why are you doing all this drinking? And he would tell me things, but he'd also make up stories that he thought Mum would want to hear. But mums are pretty cluey to things that are going on in their kid's life.
Absolutely.
But
I think parents, I mean, most times are able to see a bit more than what the kids think parents can see.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But he was always cheeky. He always laughed and had a smile on his face as well. But when he was in his bad place, which was quite often, he would think that the drugs and alcohol would cure what he was going through. But he never told me what he was going through until about 10 years ago. He told me that his boss had raped him at work, and this was when he was 16 going on 17, when I noticed his behaviour problem happening. And I was just devastated because I knew that I was the one person he could have come and told, because I'm a survivor. My father abused me as a child, and I thought I'm protecting my children of that, but I was mostly protecting my daughter, thinking that nothing would happen to a guy, you know. And you're like, far out. You can't believe that someone would do this to your son, and paying him to keep his mouth shut from the age of 16, 17. Now, he lived with this man for a long time, for about 10 years, until he could get enough courage to leave there. Now, I didn't know any of this until recently. And then he would have...
And how old was he when he told you about this?
He was probably late 20s.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Now, when someone has been abused, it's in their 30s to 40s, or late 20s, early 40s, that your body coping mechanisms come out, that you start talking about it. Up until then, mentally, you don't talk about it. You keep it inside and think that everything's going to go away, but it doesn't. In your 30s to 40s, that's when you start remembering what happened to you as a child. And that's what was happening with my son. So he would think that the drugs and the alcohol would numb that. And he'd feel better. But he would only feel better for a while. And then I'd get a phone call and say, "Oh, Mum, can you take me to the hospital? I'm not feeling real good." Or he's had an overdose of something. So I was in and out of mental health with him. About 2 years ago, his drinking got heavy, quite a lot. And one Christmas, he tried to do away with himself, suicide, and he tried to jump off the Joondalup Hospital roof.
Whoa.
And he must have had a lot of drugs and stuff like that in him. When he got out of the hospital, he didn't go home to where he was staying. He went to live with this really elderly gentleman that he got on really well with and could talk to, and he looked after him. And for the last 8 years, he lived there, and I went around there quite often and saw him, and we did things together and stuff like that. And then about a couple of months after Christmas, he said, "Oh, I want to get a place of my own," and I said, "And rent a place." I says, "Oh, that'd be great, if you're feeling up to it and that sort of thing." And then he got this place in Morley, and he was in this place for a month. And one day I get a phone call from his boss at work. He'd changed a lot of jobs, been in and out of a lot of jobs, my boy had. And he, at the time, he was working for a fruit packing place, and the people there were lovely, really looked after him. They got on really well with him, and we all thought he was doing really great.
Yeah.
And one day I get a phone call from his boss to say that he hasn't turned up for work today. And I just knew that something was not right there. So I rang the guy where he was living, the older guy, and I rang the real estate agent because we couldn't get into his house where he lived. And I found him on his patio hanging by a rope. And I must have screamed very loudly, apparently. I don't remember. All I remember is holding him up, thinking that I could save him. But he had taken his own life. And I think it must have taken a lot of guts for him to do that, a lot of strength to do that. He'd had enough. But I believe he's at peace with himself now. I really do. He's not hurting anymore.
Mind I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Please.